Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. As we conclude our series on the U.S. Black Catholics on the path to sainthood, today's Do You Know question is, do you know the 3 U.S. Black Catholic servants of God on the path to sainthood? Servant of God is a title given by the Vatican to persons who, after the evidence has been submitted about their lives and so on, the Vatican approves that evidence as the cause for canonization that has been approved and can be approved for further consideration. And once the Vatican does that, it designates the person a servant of God. There are 3 U.S. Black Catholics that are servants of God. Mother Mary Lange, 1794 to 1882. Julia Greeley, she was born between 1833 and 1848 and died in 1918. And Sister Thea Bowman, 1937 to 1990. Mother Mary Lange, our first servant of God, was born Elizabeth Clarissa Lange in Cuba to a Haitian Catholic family. In 1812, they moved to Baltimore, where there was a large community of French-speaking Catholics from Haiti lived. In Baltimore, Black children were not permitted to attend public schools. So Elizabeth and a few of her friends opened a school in their home, and they named it St. Francis Academy, and exists still to this very day. And it claims to be the first, oldest, and continually operating Black Catholic school in the United States. Because white sisters in the United States did not allow any Black candidates to join them, Elizabeth was encouraged to start a congregation of religious women who would dedicate themselves to the education of Black children. On July the 2nd, 1829, Elizabeth and 3 other women really dedicated themselves to God and established the first Black religious congregation of women in the United States that became known as the Oblates Sisters of Providence. They cared. By the way, as a result of this, Elizabeth took the name of Mary and became known as Mother Mary Lange and became the superior of the congregation. They cared for the sick and dying, especially in the cholera epidemic of 1832. They established homes for widows. They taught religious education classes, even high school night classes for adults. And post the Civil War, they actually established orphanages for many of the Black children that had become orphans. Despite the racism and constant risks and the rejection and racism from the church and society overall, especially in the slave state of Maryland where they were living, despite all of this, the community remained faithful to their mission to educate children, Black children, and their mission to the church, trusting in God that He would care for them. In 1991, the Baltimore Cardinal Keeler opened the cause for canonization. The Vatican accepted the cause for further consideration and declared her servant of God. Our second servant of God is Julia Greeley, who was born between 1833 and 1848 and died in 1918. She was born in slavery in Hannibal, Missouri, and never told her birth date. That's why we have this unknown birth date. She lost her right eye at a very young age when her mother was being cruelly whipped on the slave plantation. In 1865, she was freed through the Missouri Emancipation Act and worked for various families. One of the families she worked for, the Gelpin family, really encouraged her to move to Colorado with them And they introduced her to Catholicism. And so in 1880, she was baptized in the Jesuit-run parish of Sacred Heart in Denver, Colorado, and devoted her life to serving the poor. She became known as a one-woman Vincent de Paul Society. In 1901, she joined the secular Franciscans and made the gospel her way of life. Her trademark was a red wagon where she would collect and distribute all sorts of materials that the poor needed. As a matter of fact, she would even do this during the evening and night so that she wouldn't embarrass the white poor folks that they would be receiving material from a black woman. She had a special love for children, and child-rearing parents to this very day, especially women, really seek her intercession. And only after her death in 1918 was her work for the poor discovered. In January of 2016, the Holy Year of Mercy, the Denver Archdiocese chose her as the local model of mercy. In December of 2016, Archbishop Aquila of Denver opened the cause for canonization. It was approved by the Vatican and declared her servant of God. And in June the 7th of 2017, her remains were transferred to Denver's Cathedral of the Immaculate Conception. Our third servant of God is Sister Thea Bowman, born in 1937 and died in 1990. She was born Bertha Elizabeth Bowman in 1937, the only child of Theon and Mary Esther Bowman, who were both doctors and teacher parents. They wanted the best education for her child, so they enrolled her in the Catholic school Holy Child of Jesus School in Canton, Mississippi, where she was born. Bertha converted to Catholicism because she was inspired by the sisters that she had in the school, and she desired to serve the poor. So at the age of 15, she joined the Franciscan Sisters of Perpetual Adoration. She was the only black woman in La Crosse, Wisconsin mother house, and as a result endured much of the prejudice and the racism of the her white sisters. She took the name of Mary Thea, honoring both of her parents, and she earned a doctorate in linguistics and became a college professor. In the 1960s, she was awakened by the Vatican II revival and renewal, as well as by being inspired by her own black heritage. And she became a well-known and highly acclaimed evangelizer, teacher, writer, and singer. She shared the joy of the gospel, and especially her rich black Catholic heritage. In 1984, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and despite the illness and the continual spread of the cancer, she continued her ministry of evangelization, sharing the joy of the gospel and her rich black heritage. In 1989, a year before her death, she was invited to speak to the U.S. Bishops' Gathering, and from her wheelchair and stricken with terminal cancer, she spoke with authority and love about fidelity to black Catholics to the church, as well as the need of the bishops to support and affirm black Catholics in the United States. She ended by inviting the bishops to stand, clasp hands, and sing, "We Shall Overcome." She died on March the 30th, 1990, and in 2018, the U.S. bishops initiated a cause for her canonization. It was approved by the Vatican, and she was declared the servant of God. So these are the three U.S. black Catholics, servant of God, on the path to sainthood. And if you wanted to explore more about these particular people and so on, there are two very good resources that I would point out to you. One is The History of Black Catholic in the United States by Cyprian Davis. Excellent resource and contains a lot of details and information. The other one is Subversive Habits, Black Catholic Nuns in the Long African-American Freedom Struggle by Shannon D. Williams. Again, this is focused primarily on black Catholic women's congregation established in the United States, and it goes up to the present day. Both are excellent resources for you to continue exploring these famous U.S. black Catholics and black Catholics in general. So I hope this has helped to explain, as we conclude this series, I hope this has helped to explain the 6 U.S. black Catholics on the path to sainthood, and I hope you'll return again to more Do You Know series questions as we continue to explore our faith, history, and traditions. Thank you very much.